Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to our YouTube channel and welcome to this video. So this is another web technology informational video where we will talk about what is a REST API and how it works. So basically we do have several videos in our YouTube channel showing you how to use a REST API. So maybe by using JavaScript or any other programming languages. But you may still have some confusion on how a REST API really works. So that's why we're going to talk about what is the REST API and how will it help us during development on our web technologies or web software. This is actually a part 1 of our video tutorial series on how to build a REST API on PHP. Now let's go to the details of what is an API. So basically an API stands for Application Program Interface. So application program interface, and that's a very broad term. So there's all kinds of API, but we're specifically talking about web API here. So there's an API in your smartphones or even in your refrigerators, and so this is a very generalized, but essentially an API is a contract provided by one piece of software to another piece of software, and it usually consists of structured request and then a structured response. So one piece of software, it says give me this kind of information or this information formatted in this way, and I'll give you this data or this function or whatever that response may be. So in order for us to better understand what an API is, so let's have a look on the analogy that I provided here of what is an API. So this is the analogy that we have here. So we have customers sitting on the table. So consider this customers as a client or web application, and then the kitchen is the server or the service that process certain requests. Well, the waiter is like an API, so it is formatted to take a certain order in a specific way and then bring back a certain meal, and this would be the data or the response that you requested. So an API is basically a messenger or a waiter between running software. Think of this as the connection between the client or the requesting client and the server. So this is the API at the center, providing a way of communication between two software. So now let's talk about REST. Okay, so basically it is a representational state transfer, and it is an architecture style for designing network applications. So it relies on stateless client-server protocol, which is HTTP, and you're quite familiar with HTTP, right? So it treats server objects as resources that can be created or destroyed and can be used by virtually any programming languages. So REST can be used by JavaScript, PHP, Python, C#, and other languages that are available today. So HTTP has different methods or methods that are being used. So we have this methods. Number 1 is to get. So the purpose of this is to retrieve data from a specified resource. We also have post, meaning we submit data to be processed to a specified resource. And get and post, basically these are the two methods that are basically used on a form, get and post. And then we also have this put. So the put method is an update to a specified resource. And also we have the delete. So delete a specified resource. And then we also have this 3 other methods, which is head, options, and patch, but we're not going to go into details on these 3. So we will be familiarizing only the get, post, put, and delete. So now we're going to look at some of the endpoints or example endpoints. So this is the URI or URL where our API or service can be accessed by a client application. So this is just an example on how the endpoint works. So we have get. So get and then the URL or the URI that the API or service can be accessed. So anyway, we can always choose a directory instead of by using API. We can have always the option to use different directories. For example, API access, it depends on your preference. We also have get and then specify the ID. And then we also have post. So as you can see, post and get can have different or have the same URI, but we don't have to worry about that because we specify the post or the get, which is the method to use. So it doesn't matter if they have different or they have the same URI that we're using. Then we have put, and then this is the example URI specifying the ID, and of course the delete. The same thing with get, put, and delete. They have the same URI being used, but different methods: get, put, and delete. Now let's try to have a look on how to set up our PHP REST project. So I'm going to show you how to properly arrange or configure your REST project. So for the purpose of this video tutorial series, I'm going to use WAMP server. So it is consisting of Apache, PHP, MySQL, and MariaDB. So it is a Windows web development environment, and if you want to use WAMP server, you can go ahead and download WAMP server and install it on your local development machine. So actually you can also use other server that you want or you prefer. So you can use LAMP, SAMP, or other versions of this server. So we will also use PDO or PHP data objects. So it is basically an extension that will provide us consistent interface for accessing databases in PHP. It will be helpful for us to use PHP data objects. Okay, and also I'm going to use for our code editor, I'm going to use Visual Code or Visual Studio Code as our primary code editor, and it is open source and can be run everywhere. You can download for Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. So you can use that. But anyway, you can also use your preferred code editor. You can use Sublime, you can use Atom. But yeah, for the purpose of this video tutorial, I'm going to use Visual Studio Code. So for the layout of our project, PHP project, so I have created the directory PHP REST. That will be the name of our project, and then it is created on the root directory of our server. So PHP REST, and under here we will just create few directory for our files. So includes, and then we also have not under includes. Delete this. I need to delete this. Okay. Core. So in core we will be creating few files. I'll be creating the initialize.php. So basically the purpose of this file is to initialize all our settings in our project. And then of course in include, we will create also another file which is config.php. So config.php will contain our database connection for our project. So I think that's all there is to it for this tutorial, and in the next video we will continue working on with our PHP REST and actually writing the code to start our PHP REST object, or PHP REST project. So see you in the next video. Thanks.